Hi, I am Mrs. Hahn, the Director of Youth Ministry here at Divine Redeemer. Thanks for volunteering as an acolyte. You are joining in the ranks of those who helped with the worship service since the year 250 AD. The word acolyte means companion, or one who helps. An acolyte is a boy or girl who follows Jesus Christ as Lord and who, in service to Christ, helps the pastor during the worship service. Please arrive 15 minutes prior to when the service begins. Upon arrival, check to see that a worship bulletin is at your seat to use during the service, and then go upstairs and find a robe that fits you best. There are a few sizes, so pick the one that fits you best, and then use the Velcro to secure it in place. Next, go to the coat room, and on the wall you will find directions to assist you should you forget anything. Next, you'll pick up the candle lighter. Notice how the candle lighter is hanging on the hook so that it does not scratch the wall. It consists of a taper or wick from which the candles are lighted and a bell for snuffing out the flame. An elder, pastoral assistant, usher, or pastor can help you light the wick just prior to the start of service. Remember that once it is lighted, you'll want to hold the flame away from yourself. Now go to the narthex and be ready to walk down the center aisle. When the opening hymn begins, both acolytes walk side by side down the center aisle, walking with the flame pointed away from yourself. Be sure to stay together. Walk in a dignified, unhurried manner, keeping your head up and your eyes straight forward, and bow to the altar at the second step. Enter through the communion gates, pause together at the altar, say a brief prayer. Then separate, and each of you go directly to the front of the candelabra on your side. Begin lighting the candles, starting with the candle closest to the altar, and work your way out. Check to see if the other acolyte has finished lighting his or her candles. If there is communion that day, then be sure to light one of the large candles. Once all of your candles have been lit, blow out your wick. After lighting the candles, both acolytes move back to the center of the altar. Pause for a few seconds and then move toward your pew. One acolyte will sit on the pulpit side and the other will sit on the lectern side. Place your candle lighter in the tube on your pew. Once you get to your pew, sit or stand, depending on what the congregation is doing. If they are standing, then remain standing until they sit down. Follow along in the service and participate. Sit straight. Remember, you are at worship. You are indeed serving as a worship leader, and everyone is watching you. It is important to realize that your shoes and clothing will be showing at the bottom of your robe when you get dressed that morning. Before the offering begins, acolytes proceed to the altar and pick up the offering trays. Then they will bow to the altar and move towards the center aisle where they will meet the ushers. Bow and go back to your seat until you see both ushers walking down the center aisle with the offering trays. You will then place them on the altar and return to your seat. At the end of service, when the organist begins to play the last hymn, pick up your lighter and walk together to the center of the altar. Separate and begin extinguishing your candles, beginning with the candle farthest from the altar, and work your way across. When all of your candles are out, look to see if the other acolyte is done. If so, both move to the center of the altar and then turn inward and walk together down past the communion rail. Stop at the second step and bow to the altar. Continue walking down the center aisle and to the doors of the church. Then proceed to the coat room. Hang the candle lighter on the hook so that it does not leave a mark on the wall. Notice how the bell side is hung in. Then return your robe to the closet in the balcony and hang it carefully on the hanger. If you have the job of crucifer, please ask Mrs. Heidi Groff for directions. Thank you for your service.